Younger me, if I could sit you down right now, I'd tell you something that would change everything. I won't tell you what to do. I'm here to show you what you'll become if you're willing to drop the lie. Because right now you think life is linear, that if you work hard enough, wait long enough, follow the rules closely enough, things will make sense. You think happiness is hiding just over the next hill. One more goal, one more promotion, one more person who finally understands you. But I need to tell you the truth, and I know it won't land easily. Because when you're young, you think time is a promise. You think you're building towards something solid. But one day, sooner than you think, you'll wake up in the very life you dreamed about and realize you feel nothing. Not because you failed, but because you never asked who you were building it for. It starts quietly, a sense that something's off. The conversations bore you, the victories feel empty. The person in the mirror is well-dressed, well-liked, and deeply disconnected. That's not a breakdown, it's the beginning. Because life doesn't start at success. Life begins the moment you admit you've been sleepwalking and decide to wake up. And to help, I've brought 6 men who stared into that moment and didn't flinch. They didn't smile through it, they didn't perform wisdom. They broke, they burned, and they came back with truth. Carl Jung, who told us the parts of ourselves we avoid are the ones that hold our wholeness. Leo Tolstoy, who died before he died, and in doing so finally understood life. Jean-Paul Sartre, who said existence means nothing unless you choose what it becomes. H.P. Lovecraft, who faced a meaningless universe and responded with terrifying beauty. And Charles Bukowski, who whispered that you don't chase your passion, you let it consume you. And Soren Kierkegaard, who taught that anxiety isn't a flaw, it's the trembling of transformation. They aren't here to inspire you, they're here to haunt you in the best possible way. Because younger me, you are not late, you're not lost. You're standing on the threshold of your real life, but you can't walk through it pretending to be someone you're not. You have to burn the mask, you have to listen to the silence, you have to let go of the version of you that was built to survive, and finally meet the one who's here to live. There's an old fable, almost forgotten now. A man lived in a grand house, admired by many, but in the basement, behind a heavy locked door, he kept a creature. He never looked at it, never spoke of it. Every night he slid scraps through a narrow slot, then quickly shut the door. Years passed. He climbed society's ladders, earned praise, built a perfect life. Until one night the door creaked open on its own, and the thing that stepped out was taller than him, sharper than him, and it had learned to speak in his voice. That, younger me, is the shadow. You've been raised to believe that your value comes from what you show the world, your confidence, your composure, your kindness. And so you've hidden anything that doesn't fit that script, your rage, your shame, your ambition, your jealousy. You didn't kill those parts, you just buried them, but they never stopped growing. Carl Jung knew what that silence becomes. He said the shadow is everything within us that we refuse to see, and the longer it stays unseen, the louder it screams in our actions. Younger me, that spike of anger when someone else shines. That quiet panic when you're alone. That snide voice that mocks your own dreams. That's not weakness. That's the part of you you've refused to acknowledge, the part that got tired of being denied. And here's the paradox. The very parts you think make you unworthy are the keys to your wholeness. Jung believed the mask we show the world, what he called the persona, is necessary for survival. But if you wear it too long, you forget who's underneath. A midlife is when that persona starts to crack, when success feels strangely empty, when even love doesn't land like it used to. And suddenly the emotions you suppressed come flooding back, not to destroy you, but to make you whole, but only if you let them in. So here's what you do. When you feel triggered by someone, don't judge. Ask why. When you catch yourself faking interest, pause. When something inside you says this isn't me, listen. And if it scares you, good. Jung once said the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, but he also knew the reward. Because when you face the thing you've been avoiding, it stops controlling you. And when you integrate it, when you bring the shadow into the light, something incredible happens. You don't just feel more powerful, you feel real. You stop performing, you start becoming.
And that monster in the basement?
Turns out it was just your truth, locked away and starving. It was supposed to be a good life, a career with status, a family, a house with light streaming through clean windows, perfectly scheduled dinners, pleasant acquaintances, polite success. But as he lay dying, Ivan Ilyich let out a cry so harrowing it shook the bones of literature. What if my whole life has been wrong?
Younger me, that's not fiction, that's prophecy.
Tolstoy didn't write Ivan Ilyich to entertain, he wrote him as a mirror. Because Tolstoy himself had reached the heights of fame, only to stare into the abyss of his own achievements and feel nothing. He had everything except himself. Midlife doesn't ask, are you successful? It asks, are you awake? At first, the questions whisper, why am I tired all the time? Why don't I feel proud? Why does everything I once wanted now feel like obligation? But eventually they thunder. What if I've built a life I no longer recognize? What if the roles I play, spouse, leader, parent, achiever, have become masks so heavy I can't remember what my own face looks like? There's a paradox here. The more conventional your success, the harder it is to admit your dissatisfaction. You've done everything right, so when something still feels wrong, you assume it must be you. That you're broken, ungrateful, spoiled. But what if you're not the problem? What if the life you built was perfect for someone you never truly were? Tolstoy's warning is sharp and urgent. Don't wait for crisis to become clarity. If you're feeling empty, it doesn't mean you've failed. It means your soul is knocking. It means your real self is waking up and whispering, we can't keep living like this. So what do? You stop confusing purpose with performance. You start noticing what you do that leaves you energized, not drained. You name the things you've outgrown. You admit the dreams you quietly buried. And then you make the most terrifying, liberating choice of all. You decide not to die in a life that isn't yours. Because regret isn't born from failure, it's born from silence. From ignoring that quiet ache that tells you you're meant for something more. Younger me, one day you'll stand at the edge of that silence, wondering if it's too late. It's not, it's never too late to return to yourself. But first, you have to admit you left. Younger me, you keep telling yourself you're waiting for the right time. But it's not time you're waiting for, it's someone to blame. You say you need more clarity, more confidence, a sign from the universe. But what you really want is permission. Permission to live the life you already know is yours. Jean-Paul Sartre would say there's no one left to grant it. He once wrote, man is nothing else but what he makes of himself. No essence, no divine blueprint. Just raw existence and the responsibility to shape it into meaning. That sounds inspiring until it isn't. Because once you accept that, you also have to accept that no one's coming. No rescue, no fate, no cosmic plan, just you and the choices you do or don't make. It's what Sartre called the burden of freedom. And it's the most terrifying thing in the world. Because it means if your life feels hollow, you can't blame your parents or your partner or your past. It means the person you're waiting to become is already sitting in your chair. Younger me, I once knew a man who spent 20 years saying he wanted to write a novel. He read the books, took the workshops, talked about story arcs and symbolism, said he was waiting for the right idea. But deep down, he wasn't waiting for the right story. He was waiting to feel worthy of telling one. He never wrote it. That's what Sartre means when he says existence precedes essence. You don't discover who you are by thinking about it. You become who you are by choosing again and again through action. But here's the paradox. Choice feels like freedom until you realize every choice kills another future. When you say yes to something, you're saying no to 1,000 other lives. And most people never choose fully, not because they don't want freedom, but because they can't bear to lose the illusion of all those other lives they could have lived. So they stay in the hallway between versions of themselves, between decisions. Not stuck because the door is locked, but because the door is open, and stepping through it would mean owning everything that happens next. That's the most honest prison in the world. A hallway full of unlocked doors. And younger me, if that's where you are right now, then I want to tell you something that may sound cruel, but it will save your life. Waiting is a lie. Waiting is the most elegant form of self-betrayal. And the moment you stop waiting, not for approval or certainty or a flawless plan, but simply decide to step forward, you will feel something astonishing. The weight doesn't get heavier, it disappears. Because it was never the choices that were crushing you. It was the fear of having to live with them. Sartre teaches us that meaning is not found, it is forged. You choose it, you act on it. And in doing so, you become. So stop performing potential, stop decorating the hallway, choose leap, even if it's messy, even if it scares you. Because the greatest mistake you can make isn't choosing the wrong door. It's dying in the corridor, clutching a map of paths you never walked. Younger me, I know you still believe that one day it will all make sense, that the suffering will reveal its lesson, that the heartbreaks will align into some larger plan, that if you endure long enough, the universe will unfold its logic and say, here, this is why it happened. But what if that day never comes? What if you get everything you prayed for and it still doesn't feel like enough? That is the horror H.P. Lovecraft understood more than anyone. Not ghosts, not monsters, but the possibility that life has no inherent meaning, that the stars do not whisper back, that the universe is not a puzzle with a final satisfying answer, just endless silence stretched across eternity. He called it cosmic horror, but it wasn't really horror, it was honesty. Younger me, there will come a time, maybe soon, when something breaks in you. When you lose someone or fail spectacularly or simply stare at the ceiling one night and feel nothing. And in that moment, every belief you held about purpose and fairness and justice will fall apart. You'll be left alone with a question so heavy it flattens everything. What's the point? And if you're not careful, that question will consume you. It will hollow you out, turn you cynical, numb, detached. But if you can stand there, if you can resist the urge to run or distract or pretend and simply feel the weight of that question, then something miraculous will happen. The silence will become space. And you'll realize if the universe owes me nothing, then I owe it nothing either. I'm free. Free to choose beauty, even if it fades. Free to create, even if no one remembers. Free to love, even if it hurts. Free to live, not because it matters to the cosmos, but because it matters to me. That's the twist Lovecraft never quite said aloud. Meaninglessness is not the enemy. It's the blank page that lets you write whatever story you want. Most people are terrified of that. They want structure, certainty, divine approval. But you, younger me, you don't need to be held. You need to be unleashed. Because once you stop waiting for life to justify itself, you start justifying it by the way you live. And in that moment, when you create meaning without needing permission, you become something the universe can't ignore. You become flame in the void. You become a myth of your own making. So yes, the stars are silent, but they are watching. Now show them how a human burns. Younger me, I know you're tired of striving, of optimizing, of proving your worth to people who aren't even paying attention. You call it ambition, drive, hustle. But if you're honest, it's fear in disguise. Fear that if you stop performing, the world will stop caring. That if you stop trying, you'll disappear. But Charles Bukowski would tell you the opposite. He'd tell you to stop trying, not because effort doesn't matter, but because the kind of trying you're doing is killing you slowly. He said it simply, don't try. He didn't mean quit, he meant burn. Burn from the inside out. Burn with the thing that wakes you up at night. The thing you don't talk about because it doesn't sound responsible or mature or profitable. But when you touch it, you feel alive. Younger me, I once met a man at a job I hated. We were in line for coffee, pretending to care about Monday. He looked clean-cut, efficient. But when we spoke, he confessed something quietly. I used to be a poet. He said it like a secret, like it was a sin he once committed. I still write, he said, but now I only write things that sound smart. That was the saddest thing I'd ever heard. Not that he gave up on poetry, but that he stopped writing what was true in favor of what was clever. You've been doing that too, not with poetry, but with your life. You've been curating yourself, smoothing your edges, trading your voice for approval, and it's worked. You're successful, respectable, stable, but you're also shrinking. Because trying to become what they want will never lead you to who you are. Bukowski's tombstone said it best, don't try. What he meant was, stop chasing, stop editing, stop pretending. The thing that's meant for you doesn't need to be forced. It needs to be followed, fiercely, shamelessly, without apology. And yes, it will be messy. You'll disappoint people. You'll make less money. You'll feel foolish at times. But you'll also feel something you haven't felt in years, freedom. Because when you stop performing your life and start living it, even badly, it belongs to you again. So forget impressive, forget polished. Be real, write the bad song, start the dumb project. Say the true thing, not for their applause, but for your own damn soul. You were not born to maintain, you were born to burn. And trying to become something acceptable is the fastest way to forget you're something extraordinary. Younger me, I want you to listen carefully to this feeling you keep calling anxiety. That ache in your chest, that weight behind your eyes. That creeping panic you can't name but can't shake either. That's not a flaw, it's a signal. Soren Kierkegaard called it the dizziness of freedom. It's what happens when you suddenly realize that you can do anything and therefore must choose something. When the path forks not into right or wrong, but into infinite maybes. Most people don't make the leap, not because they can't, but because the fear of choosing wrong becomes greater than the desire to become right. So they stay in jobs that drain them, relationships that shrink them, lives that almost fit because almost is safe. But Kierkegaard would tell you that safety is the true sickness. Anxiety is not the enemy. It's the sign that the soul is waking up. It's the spiritual equivalent of standing on a cliff. Your legs shake, your vision blurs, your breath shortens. And everything in you says, go back, sit down, wait for certainty. But certainty never comes. What comes instead is a choice to leap or to rot. Younger me, one day you'll feel that moment. It won't come with warning. You'll be mid-conversation or washing dishes or staring at your ceiling at 2 a.m. And suddenly you'll know this life doesn't fit me anymore. And it won't be because something went wrong. It'll be because something in you is finally ready to become real. But to cross that threshold, you'll need to face something few people ever do, your freedom. The crushing truth that no one can choose for you. No guru, no parent, no lover, no God. Just you, naked, trembling, alive. And that's when the old life begins to die. Not in fire, not in drama, but in silence and stillness. In the unbearable awareness that what comes next is yours to define. That's the moment Kierkegaard called faith, not belief in dogma, but belief in yourself before the evidence arrives. So leap, not because you're certain, but because the only thing more terrifying than jumping is never leaving the ledge. The fear won't go away. It's not supposed to. It's there to remind you that you're alive, and that means you're finally free. So this is it, younger me. The end of the illusion, the beginning of the truth. You thought life started when you proved yourself, When you became successful enough, loved enough, admired enough to feel secure. But security was never the goal. Wholeness was. And now you know what that really means. It means facing the parts of yourself you buried and reclaiming them with tenderness. It means questioning the script you were handed and writing your own with trembling hands. It means standing in the silence of the universe and screaming your truth into the dark. It means burning for what's real instead of polishing what's acceptable. It means walking into the dizziness of freedom and daring to become something you've never been, fully, wildly you. Younger me, life doesn't begin at 40 because your body changes or the world gives you permission. It begins at 40 because, for the first time, you stop asking who you should be and start becoming who you already are.
Jung handed you the mirror.
Tolstoy asked if you were truly living. Sartre gave you the weight of your own choices. Lovecraft stripped away the illusions. Bukowski gave you fire, and Kierkegaard gave you wings. Now there's only one thing left to do. Take the leap, not because you're fearless, but because fear is proof that you're standing at the edge of something that matters. This is your life. Not the one you were told to live, the one you were born to create. So go, burn, fall, leap, become. Life begins now.